Hello, welcome back to Sapling Tarot. My name is Imogen, and today I'm going to be talking about my new system for doing love readings. I'm still going to be doing classic readings with love-related questions and relationship questions the way that I always have done, but I wanted to create something a little bit bigger and better and more all-encompassing to kind of fit with my personal philosophies. I've designed a tarot spread and I'm going to be talking you through that spread today, but I also wanted to talk about, straight out of the gate, the cards that I've chosen to do this reading with. Obviously, you could use any tarot deck, you could use any oracle deck, you could use any pair of tarot and oracle decks, or you could just use one or the other. I've gone all in on the theme, as you can probably see. I'm feeling very Valentine's, I'm feeling very I love love. So the decks that I've chosen to work with are the Goddess of Love Tarot, which I have in this amazing pouch from Kelly Bear with the little dinosaur charm on it. And I think it just goes so perfectly with these pink backs that I love so much. And this is the book, The Goddess of Love Tarot by Gabriella Herstick. I have read a handful of Gabriella's books, notably her book Sacred Sex, which is just wonderful. I really appreciate the way that she writes about the divine feminine in a way that isn't so binary and doesn't really get into any kind of like bioessentialism stuff that gives me personally the ick with my own experience of gender and kind of view on the world and all of that kind of stuff. It can get a little bit tricky, but I really respect her and her work, and this deck is really brilliant. I'm also going to be working with the Oracle of the Roses by Sherilyn Darcy, who is an Australian ethnobotanist, and I don't know an awful lot of Sherilyn's work, but I would be super interested in getting more of her decks because they just seem really thought out, really well thought out. Like they've not just kind of plonked plants willy-nilly onto the prompts. Like there's a real sense that she really knows what she's talking about, and I really love that. And also, I mean, can you see that the kind of raspberry metallic edges with these pink tarot cards? I mean, match made in absolute heaven. I mean, even the two booklets, like the roses, are pretty much like the same thing. So I'm feeling very happy with my deck picks for this spread. Like I said, you don't have to use a tarot and an oracle. You could use one or other, or two tarot, two oracle, whatever floats your boat. Right, I'm going to put the spread onto the screen now, and then I'm going to walk you through what the positions mean and the thoughts I've had about them, and then I'm going to do a guided reading. So it's going to get nice and personal because it's going to be about my own love life, or the love in my life. So yeah, let's get into it. So the way that I have organised this spread is around the various different ideas of the different sorts of love that we have in our lives. A lot of our society and media and culture is quite fixated on only really considering monogamous romantic partner love, and I just think we are more than that. I think that all of the different sorts of love we have in our lives are just as important and deserve to be given as much weight as any other kind of love. So as I go through, I'm going to explain the different sorts of love as I have delineated them. You absolutely go right ahead and change any of these things if bits don't resonate with you, or bits seem to be kind of duplicated or something, then by all means, you go right ahead and change it. But this is where I'm at. This is how I'm going to be doing readings, certainly to begin with. Oh, I'm so far from centre. Okay, so the first position up here, I'm quite cramped on this desk, so it's not laid out as beautifully as I would like it to be. But this will do for now. This first position up here is about our love for self. Self-love is a concept that has become more popular in recent years as something that we should talk about, but it's still something that I think a lot of us feel a lot of guilt and shame, and like it's not something that we should really prioritise. And so that was why I wanted to put this as the first position. This is the cards that make up kind of the northeast, south and west of this spread are places where we give and receive love. And I really wanted self-love to be an important part of this spread, because I think that this gets massively overlooked when we think about love in our lives. And self-love doesn't have to be the kind of picture perfect bubble bath self-care version of self-love that we get shown and we get used to market various different things. How I see this card in this position is, how do we show up for ourselves? How do we show ourselves compassion? How do we prioritise our own happiness? How do we meet our own needs? And this is not to say that we have to do all of these things for ourselves all of the time, because part of self-love can be to do with asking for help. It can be to do with setting boundaries. It can, there's so much give and take in all of these cards. And I think that this is a really, really important place to start. And so if I do these big ones first, these north, south, east, west, if I move over onto this one, this is the love we have for our friends. Now, some of the terminology is going to be maybe a little bit vague, because I want it to be something that anyone can relate to. So friends is the kind of love that is shared between equals, between people with shared interests, between our comrades, the people that we have a mental connection with, and sometimes that can be like shared struggles. And I think that this, again, is a type of love that gets undervalued in our society. It's something that we're told should always come second or third or fourth to other kinds of love, whether that be romantic love or family love or, career and stuff. I think that friends get massively devalued, and I think that's bollocks, quite frankly. I think that our friends are essential for the kind of relationships where we can feel safe and connected, but also people that will call us out on our bullshit and challenge us in that kind of the mental way that these kind of relationships are formed. And I think that, friendships are the backbone of community. They're the people we choose, they're the people who choose us. And I think that's really important. Moving over to this side, family. And this doesn't at all mean blood family. This could be chosen family, this can be, your team, sports team or whatever, but it's people who have a history. It's based on loyalty, it's based on support and security and safety. It's this idea of kinship. It's the sort of relationship that develops over time because of shared experiences. And again, this is the kind of relationship that often gets put on the back burner, the same as the friendship relationships, gets put on the back burner when people get into romantic partnered relationships. I also want to put in a quick caveat here. I'm in no way against monogamous partnered relationships. I think they are wonderful. I think that having a person is, a wonderful and beautiful human experience. My point is that I don't think that it should be the sole priority, and it shouldn't be the only place that we look for or find love in our lives, because as humans, we have such a great capacity for love, and there are so many places that we can find love in our lives, and there are so many ways that it can manifest. There are so many different types, more than I could ever get into in one tarot spread, and it will look different for everyone. And some people may feel like they don't have friends, some people may feel like they don't have family. That's absolutely fine. There will be other places. This is just kind of an overview of the sorts of places where we can find love in our lives. And then this final sort of compass down here is love for community. And so this is going back to ancient Greek priorities of the greatest kind of love, and this shows up in religions, and it's this idea of selfless love for humanity and this kind of selfless, boundless, unconditional love for fellow humans. It is freely given, it is neighbourly love, it is empathy, and this, I think, is the kind of love that a lot of us are lacking. Not that we don't have capacity for it, but maybe that we just don't have direction for it. And I think that a lot of things that are happening at the moment, particularly, it can feel really hard to stand up on our own 2 feet and stand up for what we believe in, because we don't feel like we have this, and we don't feel like we have people who would show up for us, or we don't have the connection with people that we feel like we need in order to show up for them. And so I really wanted to feature this in the spread, because I think that this is, particularly in the culture that I live in, which is white, Western, Eurocentric, Anglocentric culture, is super individualistic. It's very every man for himself. It's very only looking out for what's yours. And I think that, to just be on my soapbox for just a second longer before I move on to the rest of it, I think that this is where a lot of people are, and I really mean not lacking, but lacking direction or feeling supported in this kind of love. And that is the 4 corners of this spread, because I think these are all things that we could do with paying attention to in our lives. And when we want to know about the love in our lives, these are the places that I believe we should look first and look deeply. And so that's why each of these positions has both a tarot and an oracle card. And we'll turn all of these cards over in a minute. I didn't want to overcomplicate things, and you'll be able to see me and the way the cards will presumably read me, and we can all have a laugh together about how either lacking or overly sensitive I am in all of these areas. But for now, we have 5 more cards. This top left-hand corner is playful love. And that is something that I think, I need to stop saying this is something that I think everyone needs in their life. I believe that we all have all of these types of love in our lives. And I believe that we all deserve all of these types of love in our lives. I believe we all deserve love. I believe we all deserve more of it, from ourselves, to everyone else around us. I'm just a big old softie. And so this is like playful, fun, casual, affectionate, kind of teasing love, the kind of love that you might find between siblings, or the kind of love you might find between people at the beginning of a relationship, that kind of fun, free-spirited, not too serious. I mean, could never be me. I'm really not one for small talk. I'll get straight to so what do you think happens after we die? But that's my version of playful, and you all have your own version of playful, and you deserve to have that. We all do. And we deserve to prioritise that in our lives. The next kind of love is enduring love. So this is love that is respectful and tolerant and patient and kind and committed. This is a really active kind of love. This is the kind of love that is built over time, obviously, but also on compromise, and not in the sense of compromising ourselves, but as in working together to find the best strategy to move forward and to preserve the relationship and to preserve the people within the relationship. And it's to do with prioritising each other. And again, this is not about necessarily a particular partner. This is to do with any relationship that endures, and the way that we do have to find a way forward together depending on the people involved. It's how does this work in the long run? some relationships can exist forever in this kind of playful arena. Other relationships with other people, you might need to diversify, find the things that make each person feel loved and feel held and supported in those relationships. Down here we have the one that we're all thinking about, romantic love. This can often be a more kind of physical kind of love, but not always. I see you, ace spec people, but this is like an appreciative, built on passion and beauty and desire. And again, I'd see you aromantic people as well. I know that this isn't necessarily something that shows up in everyone's life, but when I say romantic love, I do mean the classic kind of love, but also any kind of love that is kind of idealistic or kind of rose tinted and to do with that like appreciation of beauty. That kind of love is what turns up in this card. And then this final card is shadow love. The concept of the hidden aspects, the parts of love that maybe we don't want to look at. And any of these other types of love can have a shadow. And as the reading progresses, that shadow may well become really obvious. But I wanted just at least one position within the spread to give us a pause for thought and to think about, are there ways in which, are there ways that we're being selfish? Are there ways where we're being too frivolous? Are there ways where we're being too serious? Are there ways where we're getting swept up in things and kind of letting other relationships fall apart? Are we giving too much of ourselves and not meeting our own needs? There are so many ways throughout all of these cards that a shadow could play out. These could be things about, controlling or jealousy or looking to others to complete us. And so that is the final tarot card. And then the central card is you or me. This card will be me. We'll get there in a second. And just as this central card is like an anchor for all of the other positions of going, like, how do I relate to myself in terms of self-love, to my family, to my friends, to my community? How do I show up in terms of enduring or playful or romantic or the shadow sides of love? And so there we go. We have the full 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13 cards. Oh, that feels significant. And so now that I've waffled on for plenty long enough, let's get into the juicy bit and let's do my reading. Right. Okay, so as we go, I'll try and show you them in a more central part of the frame because otherwise we're going to cut off some of this artwork. But so, to start with, I'm going to pull over this central card, which is me, which is the scientist, which is the memorial rose, which is a wild rose. And so, for this card you could use any significator, and I do have a video coming out next week about finding significator cards. But I just wanted to add an extra rose in because I am a sucker for roses. So the scientist has me as the central card. I mean, I do have a lot of air in my chart. I'm quite a thinker, maybe rather than even a feeler or a doer. And so that feels quite apt, and I am already slightly regretting filming this, but how else am I going to show you how this works? So this will be the card that I kind of come back to, but I mean, also I'm just thinking about it now, like the idea of experimentation feels like something that might come up. And so yes, it's not just that I'm, a cold fish, it's like there's room for experimenting in my life. So let's start up here with the self-love positions. We've got the storyteller. Oh, that's nice. Okay, that is something that I do refer to myself as. It's in most of my bios all over the place, because that to me always feels like kind of the cornerstone of everything that I do, everything that I am, everything that I do. I mean, it makes it sound like I'm a massive liar. I'm a shit liar. But, storyteller is how I see tarot. It's how I see making art. It's how I see writing, obviously. No prizes there, Imogen. And so, yeah, so as a storyteller and a scientist, there's kind of a balance in terms of my approach to self-love that feels like kind of the two sides of me, like the kind of the creative and more like feelings side of me, and the science tarot. Ooh, Crone of Swords. Interesting. Cool. Okay, so in this deck, the Goddess of Love Tarot, the crones are the kings, so they're like the oldest member of the suit. So Crone of Swords is heir of air, so just to really reiterate my point about the scientist and about my astrology and who I am as a person, the Crone of Swords feels quite apt. But you know, and I'm just feeling really vindicated about the choice of the Rose Oracle of the Roses. So yeah, so my self-love is quite analytical, but it's also like the stories I tell myself, and that is something that I've been shifting recently in terms of trying to balance knowing my limitations with limiting myself with my beliefs. And I think that's really hard. Yeah, these three together actually, as like me and who I want to be, is, yeah, maybe I need to chill a bit on the overanalyzing, if I could ever do that. I don't really see that happening, but try and shift some of the stories and the narratives that I tell myself about myself. Playful love. Ooh, Eight of Pentacles. Okay, not the most playful of cards, but that feels like making play into a purpose, or like being really dedicated to play. And I can support that. I can get into that. I can be a bit of a serious person, particularly if I'm not very well. But I do have a really strong, light-hearted sense, and I think I probably need to lean into that a bit more. And I love this, the idea of the Eight of Pentacles. So it's like, yeah, prioritising play and finding play in my work. So kind of both of those things. And I mean, all of this is kind of part of my work now, and it's to do with making I mentioned it in a previous video about like the millennial urge to monetize your hobbies. But this is kind of where I'm headed at the moment. My trajectory is taking me along this tarot path, and I love it, and I feel very playful with it, and it can get really dark and it can get very analytical, but I love this. I mean, I like the Eight of Pentacles as a card anyway, but squirreling myself away to dedicate myself to play or finding play in my work feels like something I can absolutely get behind. Did I show you this? I didn't show you this. Okay, so enduring love, how does that come out in my life? The Hermit, great. Well, okay, no prizes. Oh, there's a broken heart. So, I feel like that's not really much of a thinker card there. I think in order for my relationships to last, I need to spend time on my own. But yeah, no, that is, yeah, like I said, this is going to get real fucking personal. But I do need time by myself. I'm also an incessant chatterbox, so it's really hard to balance the fact that I have quite a flimsy social battery with the fact that I could talk the hind legs off a donkey. It's this Gemini Aquarius thing that I'm dealing with. Oh, and Scorpio thrown in there too. It's a mess. And so yeah, let's leave that one there. That feels that feels a bit pointed. Right. Friend love. Oh, the Self. Interesting. The Self and the Nine of Swords. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I suppose this, again, wowie. If you know anything about autism, you may have heard of the term special interests. Particularly here on TarotTube, tarot is often a special interest of my neurodivergent peers, which is brilliant because it's endless. I have had a habit in the past of sometimes making people my special interests accidentally and getting way too invested in people's lives to the point where, oh, and while we're here, we can debunk an autism myth, which is it's not that autistic people can't feel empathy. Some autistic people don't feel empathy, and that is also fine. Some of us, my experience of autism is a lot of either too much or not enough of something, where like normal people would be somewhere in the middle. I'm like here or here, with, you know, wildly too much of it or absolutely not enough of it. And this is quite a good illustration of that, which is I've reached a point in some relationships with people, with friends, where I've been so invested in them that their pain has physically become my pain, to the point that it has made me useless. So I haven't even been able to help or support them because I have been so debilitated by this kind of proxy pain that I've like absorbed from them. And that is just not helpful for anyone. And so I think this is probably like, it's like Nine of Swords, you know, taking on other people's nightmares, taking on other people's demons, turning someone into a project. Ooh, I'm bad for that one. Because, you know, who the fuck am I to say how people should be or what people should do? It's not like I have my life together, so I shouldn't be telling anyone shit. But yeah, bad habit. One that I have largely broken, but I think this is a really good indicator of something for me to keep an eye on. I love my friends. I'm very grateful for my friends. I don't need to put myself or them in this position because it just doesn't help anyone. How we? Okay, so family. What can you say to me now? Oh, the Lover. And the Five of Wands. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have issues with conflict, as many people do. You know, that's not me being a unique little snowflake. That's something that I know is very common with a lot of people. Because of like my childhood and my early life, I pick up on atmospheres. I mean, I suppose that kind of stems back to this empathy tangent I went on. I pick up on atmospheres really, really quickly. And like any sort of bit of tension impacts me really deeply and makes me feel quite sick, which is not useful, again, in like navigating day-to-day life. Because shit happens, conflicts happen, people annoy each other, it's fine, we all get over it. And so I think this like bringing my sort of like, I'm generally quite a peaceful and content person with, you know, anxiety and whatever, but, you know, generally I'm quite peaceful. And so if I can kind of bring that into moments of conflict where I would usually sort of scurry inside myself and like get really stressed, maybe if I can just bring a bit of a sort of like irritating peace and love dude vibes into these kinds of equations, then maybe it will just feel a little bit nicer for me. And also like claiming my voice, which makes me sound like such a knob, but like saying if things make me uncomfortable is something that I've been on like a, you know, lifelong so far journey to get better at doing, and I have got better at doing it. All of these things, it's really interesting. It's like they're all things that I kind of know are issues, and they're all things that I've been working on consciously for a while, so it's quite interesting to see them all cropping up in one place, and I can feel a little bit like, yeah, I mean, something to be aware of, but I am, and I'm working on it. So like nothing so far, we've still got cards to go. Nothing so far has felt like bolt from the blue. Oh my god, never considered that before. But yeah, so I'm thinking about this in terms of like the Lover's Tarot card, so about like communication and choices, and pairing that with the Five of Wands, kind of petty squabble energy, thinking about like choosing how I navigate those relationships and like the love I have for my family and knowing that they love me too, and that for every rupture there will be repair, and that I can rely on people, that maybe I can be a petty bitch and like no one's going to hate me and no one's going to disown me and no one's going to leave me. And again, like I said, you know, this is family in the broadest sense of like the people that I have long-standing relationships with, and I like that, of sort of the conflict will be fine, because you know it's 5 of Wands conflict, it's not anything more severe, it's just, you know, dicking around hitting each other with sticks. And yeah, no, okay, I like that. Now where are we going to go next? Let's just keep going left to right. Romantic love. So if it's the Hierophant, it's the Hierodule. Yeah, okay, so using the divine energy to transform, I like that. I have a lot of baggage around this kind of stuff, as I'm sure many people do. But yeah, so like taking old patterns and turning them into something new, and kind of approaching that with a curiosity and a transformation, and thinking about like the stories I tell myself, so coming up to like the self-love stuff, of being like prepared for that to change. But yeah, taking on messages, if not from the divine or like the universe or whatever, then just from my surroundings, and changing the stories I tell myself about what this kind of love looks like and how that can show up in my life, and if I'm allowed it, and you know, all of that kind of fun stuff. Let's do shadow and then we'll do community, so we don't have to end on a dark one. Ooh, the Wheel of Fortune. Oh, that is my personality card, soul card, my numerological. You add all your things up, and then mine works out at 10. And I still don't totally know what this means in that context, but in this context, I'm taking it as I just need to let shit happen, and I need to like take my hands off the wheel a little bit. You know, all of this airy and then earthy energy, and just maybe let go and accept that things have changed. So how love looked in my life, you know, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I'm not ever going back to that. I'm going to make something new. And you know, that is hard for everyone, to know that you're not necessarily ever going to get back what you once had. And you know, sometimes that's wonderful, sometimes that's incredibly freeing, and given, you know, the aforementioned baggage, etc., maybe that is something that I should just be like happy about. I mean, fuck me, it's got a Sheila the Gig on it. Can we just have a moment? I mean, is this acceptable for YouTube? I think these cards are so brilliant. And you know, you've got all your astrology on there, and it's kind of a like, let go, shit happens, stuff changes, everything changes. What's that thing about it being the sentence that can bring down the happiest person and bring up the saddest person, is everything changes, nothing stays the same. Yeah, alright, okay, I'm gonna start crying. Okay, final one is community. How am I putting love out into the world? Oh, the Liberator, I will take that. Actually no, that's a big responsibility, and one that I don't think I'm necessarily positioned for, but in essence, I'll take it. And the Queen of Wands, okay, this is lofty ambitions for me, anyway, from my, like, the revolution will come from bed viewpoint. I mean, I'll take it, it's a dream. That's a lovely idea, the idea that the love I put out into the world and the community that I love so much is one of action and liberation and taking no shit and smash it all down and build some wonderful utopian thing. And you know, to be even a little bit of a part of that would be, my life would have been worth it. God, yeah, wasn't kidding. I'm gonna start crying. Right, okay, so did I show you the Queen of Wands? Queen of Wands, fucking badass. And yeah, the Liberator, the Mademoiselle de French Sombroy, yeah, that one. Lovely stuff. Okay, this has all just got a bit much for me now, if I'm honest. I hope that this has kind of explained my vision for what this spread could be. It's hella personal. But yeah, thanks for listening to me waffle on. I love you and I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're taking really good care of yourself. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one.